Hi everyone, I am here today with a discussion video. Now I tend to not really sort of get involved in booktube kind of discussion kind of things very often. I'd like to keep out of the drama and just stick to reading and reviewing books, but this is a subject that really affected me because, as I said, I really like to focus my channel more on reading and reviewing, and when something happens that affects my views on people reading and reviewing, that basically doesn't always sit well with me depending on what it is. So in this case today, I want to talk about our responsibilities as reviewers on booktube, and indeed reviewers full stop. And the basic subjects I want to cover are what this means. What does it mean to have responsibility as a reviewer? Do we really have any responsibilities? How far can we take our responsibilities? In what situations could we change our ratings? Is it okay to leave a review on a book if we haven't actually read the book? Does all of this lead to trust issues? What makes you trust someone's opinions? What makes you distrustful? And what effect does this have on people who don't follow multiple sources reviews, such as younger viewers? So those are the subjects that I want to actually discuss today. So if this is something that interests you, please stick around, and then also drop some comments in the area below to just sort of discuss this with me further, because there are obviously not going to be any right and wrong answers to a lot of this, and it's just personal opinion, and I want to see whether my opinion is a bit touchy or whether maybe other people feel the same as me, and just, you know, get a healthy discussion going about this. So first of all, I'd like to say that this isn't aimed at anyone specifically. While I did take inspiration from situations that have happened recently with the Bronze Horseman, it's not the first time that something like this has happened. For example, I can think of Carve The Mark earlier this year by Veronica Roth. That was also an issue, and so this is just something that keeps cropping up again and again, and I want to just talk about it. So first of all, what do we think it means about our responsibilities as booktubers? So as I said, since my channel focuses a lot on reading and reviewing, as far as I'm concerned, my responsibility is to review books that I read in an honest way and to stay true to myself and not sort of be influenced by everyone else out there. So say, for example, I'm probably going to finish my audiobook later of Twelfth Night by Shakespeare, and I'm really tempted to give it between 1 and 2 stars, and indeed I will do, because that is how I genuinely feel about it. Now, that is not going to be swayed by someone coming up to me and going, but it's a classic and it's Shakespeare, and honestly you're just not understanding it properly. That wouldn't then lead to me giving it 5 stars, for example, because that's not how I feel. Now, I actually understand Twelfth Night really well, and it's a play that I know very well, but I want to sort of properly review the audiobook experience, so that is why the rating will be so low. But that's just, you know, just an example, a really random example. Take from that what you will. But I just want to provide as honest an opinion as I can for everything that I read. Now, I don't do full reviews for every book that I read. I tried to do that last year and I just couldn't keep up with it. It was too much. So now I only do full reviews for books that I have requested to review from publishers or that I have got from authors. I keep everything else just in my weekly wrap-ups when I manage weekly. You know what it's like if you watch me regularly. But I always make sure that I try and stay true to myself and true to what I feel about that book at the time. And I understand that that can change, but that is something I will discuss later on. So next, my point was, do we really have any responsibilities? And this is definitely one that's going to vary on you and what sort of person you are. I mean, I think at the very least we have, as I said, a responsibility to ourselves to keep ourselves true, to be just a trustful reviewer. What's the point in someone sending you their book to review if you're going to go, well, I thought it was crap, but everyone else really likes it, so I'm just going to give it 5 stars. Because what is the point in that? Who does that do anything for? That doesn't even do the publishers any good. They want honest reviews for the most part. For the most part, I understand there is a grey area there. So surely at the very least we have a responsibility to ourselves, no? And then how far can we take this responsibility? So, for example, I saw a couple of days ago someone had put a review on Goodreads. They hadn't rated the book, but they had put a review on Goodreads saying why they would not read a specific book. And is that okay? Is that taking things too far? Because you know yourself, if you just put that book on a bookshelf, say you've made a shelf on Goodreads like never going to read, you could make that shelf, put that book on there, and that would be that. And you'd never need to do anything else. But is it your responsibility to put some sort of message on there so that other people who follow your reviews knows that why you aren't going to pick that book up, and perhaps then will not pick that book up themselves? Is that your responsibility? I personally, with this, think no. I'm not a fan of this at all. As I said, the person hadn't rated the book, so it's not like they were doing anything wrong. It's not like they put 1 star and were trying to put people off. But I feel like it's just a step too far. I feel like the shelf alone is enough. But that's just me. I'd love to know what you think. This leads me to another thing on Goodreads that had bothered me quite a bit, and that is, should you change your ratings? And I know this can be something that pops up quite often. Now, I personally only change a rating if I have reread a book and feel differently about it to the last time I read it. But that's just me. I know that other people work differently. Like 6 months down the line, they might think, I really overrated that book, and just drop it down a star. Or likewise, they might be like, I think I was harsh on that book, and bump it up a star. That happens. What I don't feel comfortable with is someone dropping from a 5-star review to, for example, well, in the case of Carve The Mark earlier in the year, like 1 star. With something that they hadn't even spotted themselves, it was something that someone else had pointed out to them. I'm not comfortable with that, and maybe that's just me. Are you comfortable with that? Do you think that's an acceptable thing to do? Again, I just want to get a discussion going in the comments. Let me know what you personally think. But I think that that is almost disingenuous, because it's not something that you've spotted yourself. It's something that someone else has come along, spotted, and has had genuine feeling over. I'm not doubting the person who comes up with whatever it is in each book situation. They have obviously genuinely felt this way, and they are reviewing it honestly. They are being true to themselves. But someone who's changing their rating, are they actually being true to themselves? Are they being true to their viewers if they're a booktuber? Their readers if they write a blog? Their just general sort of following if they've got quite a few followers and friends on Goodreads? Does that affect those people that come into contact with the review? Almost certainly. And in the case of younger people, would that potentially stop them reading the book? Potentially. Should they be reading that book? Maybe not. There's so many questions there, but I feel like it's not okay, and I'm curious to see what you think. So then this leads me to think, does this lead to trust issues? And for me personally, it definitely does. If I am following someone's reviews and I notice that they have changed their rating, and that they have put in that they've changed their rating because someone else has pointed something out that they hadn't even spotted themselves, and so therefore didn't actually directly affect them as a reader, that is going to put me off a bit, because you didn't see this for yourself. It's not something that obviously genuinely affected you when you were reading the book, or you'd have spotted it. Now, I understand that over the years this could change, and if you read something when you're 16 and then you read it again when you're and then you hear about this when you are 20, 22, 25 even, obviously you are going to have a different kind of reading expectation, and just you are going to be more mature, and so you will get something different out of it. For example, when I was younger, would I have spotted that Twilight was problematic? Probably not. Now I'm older, yes I do. I still give it a high rating because I still like it, and that is okay. We can all accept that that is okay. As long as you're being true to yourself, that is okay. But if someone does lower that rating, that makes me distrust them. And does that make you distrust them? I don't know. That's what I want to know. Let me know in the comments. But it just sits really badly with me. I would much rather someone just take their rating totally off, which I've seen someone do with one of the books that has triggered this whole video. One of the people who was affected by this and wanted to sort of have that reflecting on their Goodreads account just removed their rating. So the original review is still there. Some comments down below about why they've taken their rating off is there. And then there is no rating. I feel like that is like the ideal way to handle this situation. Obviously everyone can have their own opinion on this, but I think that's just a fantastic way to deal with this. That way you aren't influencing anyone, you aren't offending anyone, and you're still just staying true to yourself, because it means that you truly don't know what you'd want to rate it. And that is perfectly okay. And that would definitely make me trust that person over the person that's dropped their rating, as an example. And so finally, I just want to talk about what effect this would have on sort of especially younger readers. If a younger reader is seen this book getting hyped up, and then their favourite booktubers suddenly start changing their ratings, what does that say to the younger reader? Because that younger reader might enjoy that book. They might not have any issue with the book. They might see what is problematic but still learn from what happens in the book, even with any of these situations. And you might have put them off ever learning about that just because you've gone with the herd in some cases. Now, I'm not saying that that is definitely what is the case and that people can't ever change their minds, but I feel like when you are a reviewer of any kind, whether you've just got a small booktube channel like mine, whether you've got 200, 300,000 followers on booktube, whether you've just got a blog of various different popularity, whether you are just a Goodreads reviewer, surely you need to realise that whatever you are saying is going to be noticed by other people. It might just be one person, it might be hundreds of thousands, but you've got to be responsible and take some responsibility for your influence over other people. And you've got to remember that a lot of us that are obsessed with books have got many sources where we get our reviews from, where we get our opinions and recommendations and everything else from. I mean, I personally have got a few booktubers who I would trust till the end of time, although that has recently dropped by one. But all the same, like, they are people that I trust, for now at least, impeccably, like totally. And if they recommend a book, I will probably go and add it to my TBR without even looking into it. But that's just me, and I'm an adult, and that doesn't matter. If I end up reading something that doesn't sort of sit well with me, I know how to just stop reading. It's not going to make me think that it's okay to act in a certain way when it might not be. And I've often usually heard about these books in other places first anyway. I also follow so many people on Goodreads, it's ridiculous. I look books up on Amazon, I watch so many people's channels, I read stuff here, there and everywhere. I read people's blogs. I feel like I get a lot of exposure from different places, different sources about several billion books that I could ever want to read. So I usually know something about most books when I add those to my TBR anyway. But not everyone is in that situation. You might have, as an example, a 15-year-old watching your channel. This 15-year-old might watch maybe 2 other channels and follow a couple of those on Goodreads. That might be all the exposure they have. At that point, if you say that your friend has put you off a book and you have dropped your rating from blah to blah, and you say that in a video, then that person watches that video and they don't hear anything about the book from the other channels, and so they don't see anything on Goodreads about it either, you might stop them from reading that book. That might actually do them a favour. It might not be suited to them anyway. But in some cases, readers can be a lot more mature than you think. And a young person can read something and know whether something is okay or not. And, like, for example, they wouldn't read a book about a serial killer and then go out and start killing people. They know it's wrong. It's simple. You can read problematic things and not then think that they are okay to do. So yeah, I think I'm waffling a bit, so I'm going to leave this here, I think. As I said, throughout this video, I would love to know what you think in the comments down below. And this is not targeted at anyone specifically, but at the same time, I am disappointed in stuff that I've seen recently, and it's made me think about what I want from a booktuber and what makes me trust a booktuber. And for those of you out there that I do trust, and there are still quite a lot of you, thank you so much for just being wonderful and true to yourselves. And yeah, as I said, I'm going to leave that here. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking the image of me just there if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me. And I will see you tomorrow with a book review. Bye bye!